This week on Maker Update, an IoT chessboard, turning a 3D printer into a micro factory, the art of epoxy, a palm full of Atari punk, interactive origami, and plugging into the Data Blaster. Hey, I'm Donald Bell, and welcome back to another Maker Update. I hope you're all doing well and seeing the light at the end of the tunnel for this whole COVID chapter in our lives. I know I've been feeling a little more optimistic recently, and the spring weather doesn't hurt. I've got a fun show for you. Let's get started with the project of the week. On Instructables, Lewis from DIY Machines shows how he made the smart, internet-connected, 3D printed chessboard. With this board, you can play against the built-in software, or if you make a second board and gift it to a friend, you can play against them remotely over an internet connection. As someone who's still learning how to play chess, my favorite feature here is that there's a hint button that will suggest moves for you. The software also checks to make sure all the moves are legal. Inside the board, you have a Raspberry Pi, which handles all of the chess software and internet connectivity. He's using a Pi 8+, which is a great affordable option. To manage all the lights and switches, Lewis is also using an Arduino Nano, which communicates back to the Pi. The enclosure is all 3D printed, though there is some gluing and screwing to get everything stuck together. He even 3D printed the chess pieces using a resin printer, but there's no reason not to just buy those. You can check out the full guide with code and STL files on Instructables, but I also think it's a great opportunity to make a custom version of your favorite board game. If it's just for you, I can't imagine Milton Bradley really cares. Now for some news. Researchers at Meiji University in Japan have developed a modified 3D printer they call the Functgraph. By adding a tool holder to the print head and a release mechanism off to the side, this otherwise stock 3D printer can become a fully self-contained microfactory. Depending on the tool extension that it prints for itself, it can pick things up off the print bed, move and assemble parts, manufacture toy cars with multiple interlocking pieces, fold your clothes, or even make you a sandwich. Now, there's a lot of clever design that goes into making a 3D printed model that works as its own microfactory, but seeing that it's even possible just opens up your mind to all the potential that 3D printers have that we're not even tapping into yet. Check out the full video. Now for more projects on this channel, Jimmy DiResta experiments with creating large CNC cut plywood signs where the spaces are filled with colored epoxy. He first cuts out the shapes on a CNC router, glues them up, and then glues them down to a plastic sheet to create a seal. Next, he fills up each space with different colors of epoxy, giving each of them an extra swirl of pigment for a look that's closer to stained glass. The end result looks incredible, and I was surprised to see that the uneven, wavy texture of the tarp actually gives it a more organic glass-like look. Tommy from Oskitone has a new kit available for his take on the Atari Punk console. It's a classic noisemaker synth, but reinterpreted with these big, fidget-friendly 3D printed knobs. It looks like a fun toy that will drive people crazy, but it's a quick build. On the Raspberry Pi blog, you can read about how Ross Symons created this interactive sound installation where people trigger different sounds by pressing on origami flowers. The interaction works by capacitive touch, with each flower registering your touch using a mix of copper tape and conductive ink. It all gets carried back to a Pi hat called the Pi Cap that can translate 12 capacitive input signals into something that the Pi can easily register. And if you can't get enough cyberdecks, you have to check out Zack Freedman's Data Blaster project. 3 particularly cool things about his design. First, he's using this ultra-wide 1280 by 480 touchscreen. Second, if that wasn't screen enough for you, he added a clip-on monocle monitor that magnetically attaches to his glasses. It seems completely impractical, yet somehow necessary, to have a CyberDeck peripheral that attaches to your head. Finally, there's a software-defined radio tuner and antenna, bringing with it some cool radio band visuals and the not insignificant thrill of a collapsible antenna. Now for some tools and tips. This week, Laura Kampf had an illuminating 2-hour live stream on the subject of making money as a maker. For a lot of us, this is really the fundamental question. You love making stuff, you wish you could do it all the time, but the bills need to get paid. Laura does a great job laying out some realistic options for you and is honest about their shortcomings. She's also upfront about her own shortcomings, which for me is helpful in taking stock in my own strengths and weaknesses. My sense is that a lot of us are coming out of this year looking to make changes in our lives, and if you're looking at someone like Laura and thinking, I want what she has, then this video will help you get a better picture of what that means. On Adafruit, Kattni Rembor has a fantastic guide on creating LED animations using CircuitPython. CircuitPython boards are much more approachable than Arduino and are quicker to prototype with. Until recently though, they haven't been quick enough to crank through some of the more complex NeoPixel animations that are possible with Arduino. Improvements to CircuitPython hardware have made this possible now though, and Kattni's guide gives some detailed examples of all the common LED animations you'd expect, from theater chase to sparkles, rainbows to pixel mapping. It's all there. On the Cool Tools channel, I've got a talk with Ian Charnas, master of invisibility and windshield wipers. Ian goes over 4 useful but not commonly discussed tips for using a laser cutter. Some will get you better results and some will help you not catch things on fire. In the latest issue of Gareth Bramwin's Tips, Tools, and Shop Tales newsletter, he talks about a great idea for using 3D printed infill for photo flash grids, or stuffing secret messages into your infill midway through a print when making gifts for friends. He also points to a new video from Adafruit's Colin Cunningham showing how to make the best use of solder wick. I've always had terrible luck with this stuff, but I'm beginning to think that I've just been using an inferior product. I also saw a tip in the comments to add flux to your wick for faster uptake, something I haven't tried. And I have to admit, I'm already taking Tim Hunkin's Secret Life of Components series for granted. I'm sure at least half of you are already hooked on it, but for anyone who's sleeping on this series, go check it out. As I'm writing this, the most recent episode covers switches, and even if you're an expert on the subject, you'll get an education on how Tim Hunkin thinks about switches, which is priceless. Speaking of switches, on the Adafruit channel, Lady Ada shows how to use Digi-Key search tool to find the perfect rotary encoder. Specifically, how to uncover the types of encoders that include a switch when you give them a little nudge. Check it out. And that does it for this week's show. Be sure to subscribe, leave a thumbs up, leave a comment. Thinking back on the project of the week, what's your favorite board game and how might you modify it? Big thanks to my patrons on Patreon and to Digi-Key Electronics for making this whole thing possible. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.